Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk 20's. This is an intro to the episode. In this episode, Connor, GT, and I dive into the topic of good habits. Consistency is key. So, kind of talking about how to make good habits for yourself, how to break the bad habits, and how to be consistent with your goals and aspirations, and how the consistency part, the mentality side, everything kind of comes together in order for you to be successful. And I think it's a really good episode to kind of help you guys propel yourself forward in a positive direction. And don't worry, life happens. Don't be too hard on yourself. We all try to start things and it either falls through or where we lose sight of what we were trying to accomplish. So without further ado, let's get into this episode. Thank you guys for listening as usual. Follow the Instagram page if you haven't yet already. Let's Talk 20's podcast. So you can comment on the Instagram post about future topics you want us to discuss, or even on the YouTube side, comment in the YouTube comments there and tell us what you want us to talk about in further episodes. So without further ado, let's get into it. Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk 20's. We're back. A little hiatus, not to fear. We're back better than ever. Yeah, don't give me that confused look, Connor. We didn't upload over the weekend. You know, someone was busy.
We recorded last week, didn't we?
We recorded last week, but doesn't mean that we posted. Maybe I'm saving that bitch in the vault. Maybe that's a little backup video. We're taking a week off.
You really hated that episode that much, huh? Okay.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
Man, damn, we gotta watch what we say.
Well, regardless, fellas, how are we doing tonight?
Oh, good.
Swell.
Tired, but busy, and life is good.
Life is always good when I get to see these two beautiful faces.
Mm-hmm. Three most beautiful men in the world.
Just, hey, you have stopped.
I'm blushing.
Well, for this episode, the topic is going to be good habits. Consistency is key. So kind of talking about how our consistency has evolved over the years, and that would also probably go hand in hand with our mentality, kind of our way of thinking, prioritization of certain things. But we're going to all get into that. So I'm just going to open it up with the first question here, gentlemen. And my first question is consistency. Why is it so hard? What's so challenging about consistency for people?
Man,
I'll go first.
Let's do it.
I think consistency in your own life is hard because life is so unpredictable that when you try to make consistent habits for yourself and consistent habits for what you want to do and what you want to accomplish, you can't predict the unknown. You can't always predict what's going to happen in your life. You could have a workout and a whole day plan, and then you get in a car wreck the first 10 minutes of your day, and then your whole day just completely changes. You know what I mean?
Shit.
Like,
Damn.
It's like, I know that's an extreme example, but
Real life, baby.
you could have, it's tough because there's no way to predict exactly everything that's going to happen. And so sometimes I feel like for me, and I feel like with people I've talked to who have trouble with this, they feel like, what's the point? Because life's just going to throw something at you anyway. So what's the point of even trying to be consistent? But, you know, you have to obviously keep pushing because life's going to be unpredictable no matter what you do. So you should still make good habits for yourself. That's for me. I feel like that's why it's so difficult. At least one reason.
On that, it kind of sounds, and I'm not saying you do this, but with that, it sounds like the mentality is, well, what the hell? So I'm not just gonna, because then when you just say, oh, hell, you're automatically not going to be 100% all into it. So where that's something where me personally, I said that freshman year of college and my habits were really bad and I didn't have good grades. I wasn't doing well. I wasn't working out or anything. But I think consistency is very hard because you have to do it. You have to sacrifice and give up a lot of stuff. That's where you're in your comfort zone. When people say get out of your comfort zone, that's where consistency gets better. It's way more well-tuned. It's precise, accurate, any word you want to put into it. But consistency is something that's, I read somewhere where, like, psychologically or mentally or whatever it said, it takes 17 to 21 times of doing something consistently, like doing it over and over again for it to become a habit. And what you do 17 to 21 times will determine if it's a good or a bad habit. Like, and that's crazy. And you have to be so good and so positive and think we're going to make this podcast explicit again. You got to make life your bitch. And that's how you get consistency. It's just going to be so consistent where your brain's just functioning like, bam, got this done. Because then you're going to put more into it and you're going to get more out of it. So that's how I think of consistency and why I think it's hard, but how you can also overcome it.
Something that came to my head real quick before you go, Tanner, that I just thought of was, I feel like it's also difficult, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, but it's because consistency has more to do with the journey rather than the destination. And it has to do with like you not necessarily seeing the fruits of your labor and like seeing like the end result. And it's hard because maybe we're so focused on what the end result is going to be, like you just want to get there, but you have to be consistent in order to like make progress, right? In order to achieve your goals. And if you're not focused on the journey, then it's really hard to be consistent because you're just focused on like hitting this milestone. So I think that whole approach where we're focused on a lot of the stuff that we've talked about, like these metrics and like accomplishing these things, but we're not focused on the day-to-day journey and the consistent like nature of how life actually is and how you get into a routine and how you get into schedule. That's another thing that makes it really difficult. If you don't set a schedule and a routine for yourself, it's really hard to be consistent too, because you're just focused on what it's going to look like in 2 months rather than this is tomorrow and then this is the next day and this is the next week. You know what I mean?
Make it fun for yourself. You don't have to make it this.
Right.
Okay, cool. But I think if you can find ways to incorporate something to make it fun, make it different, make it unique or something that works for you, dude, I think that's honestly makes it way easier because everyone's going to have different things. These three guys on this podcast right here, people that are listening, it's going to be different for each one of us. All three of us don't do the exact same things at the exact same times and everything. And you're not going to do the same thing either. So find what works for you and, keep plugging and chugging, baby. Keep going after it and have that mindset of, can't nobody tell me because you can't let something affect you. I actually saw someday, this will be my last thing, and Taryn, I'm going to let you talk. I saw something where it says a ship does not sink because of like water around it. It's the holes that are on the ship or in the ship that let the water and the outside stuff affect it and drown it and sink it. Think about that real quick.
What I was going to add, which is something that we'll definitely get into within this episode, but on the mentality side, it's very easy to lose a good habit or be consistent with any habit when you reach an obstacle and you become discouraged. And I think especially to make it relatable for this podcast for people in their 20s, as we're trying to figure out what good habits are maybe, or adding new habits to our daily lifestyle, or figuring out who we are as people and trying to adjust to these new habits. Once we reach an obstacle and maybe something makes it a setback on this habit that you're trying to do, it's the discouragement that you can feel can sometimes kind of outweigh the goal that you have in mind, and you lose sight of that because you're just so down on yourself. You miss that day, like Connor, when you talked about that one episode about your guitar practicing. That's something you do every day to relax, but also for a hobby you're trying to improve. You missed that one day. You said it ruined your mood for the rest of the day, probably going into that following day. Mm-hmm. So I think in terms of consistency, that's something that I know I have personally dealt with, and I unfortunately have lost a good habit or two over the years simply because I was discouraged and said, fuck it, I'm so mad, I'm so upset, whatever, that I'm not going to do it anymore. So at least for me. So that's my question to start off. Connor, what's the first one you got for GT and I here?
Real quick before he goes into that, what you just said, and yes, Connor, I know missing a day is tough. Because when you are so passionate about something, missing a day, you feel like, oh my God, I'm so far behind. I had professionals tell me in any profession, and this doesn't even go for sports. It goes like, I had people who, artist people, they say, hey, sometimes things come up, like life happens. Like you said, life is very unpredictable. And that's something that we can't control everything in life. And I think it's also being able to just forgive yourself, not be too harsh on yourself, but also be willing at times to say, like, hey, things happen. Like, you can't just, everything's going to be exactly how you think you're, like, how you want it to go. That's all I
Easily.
wanted to put in there.
Easily.
No, absolutely. It's a hard mindset to have because it's like, well, no, it's a hard mindset to develop, but once you develop it, I think it's easier to keep track of. But you have to learn how to develop good habits, and you have to read and do a lot of research about it. And like GT said, you have to find what works for you. And like Tanner said, you have to have a good mentality about it. But we've already kind of alluded to it, like, you know, what happens when you don't stick to your habits? You know, like what happens when you go 2 weeks without doing a habit? Like you've been doing it for months and you go 2 weeks without it. So I guess my question is, how do you learn to forgive yourself when you don't stick to your habits? And like, what's some advice you guys can give for y'all with certain things you've worked on and stuff gets in the way and you just forget about it for a couple of weeks and then you have to get back to it? And for me, I get mad at myself when that happens, but what happens for you guys?
Tanner, start that one.
Well, I mean, really, everything we've said previously has kind of led to that question in a way. You know, it's easier said than done to not get frustrated at yourself when you are inconsistent and you really have the intentions of being consistent, but life gets in a way, or you just aren't feeling it that day, or it slips your mind, whatever the case is. So when I miss something and I'm trying to get back into it, let's say the gym, for example, because that's something that the last week or so I have been slacking on, and I'm really trying to get back into the gym, trying to go back into the gym. What I have to do is kind of think of where I started originally, like you just mentioned about the journey. Maybe even if I went 3 steps forward and 1 step backwards, well, guess what? Overall, I'm net positive 2 steps forward.
True.
So for me to be inconsistent with something, kind of be discouraged, but then get myself back grounded and realize that look how far I started from when I tried to first start this habit with, once again, the gym, for example. You know, sure, I've gained some weight this year, but I physically can tell differences within the last 6 months, or I can tell based on how much weight I'm able to deadlift, or, you know, etc. So I know maybe I had setbacks, but overall I've gotten stronger. So that can translate to really any hobby or any thing you're trying to get into the swing or back into the swing of. Just overall, look from where you started. And yeah, you may not have gone in a straight line, but guess what? Just like we have said in the past, progress isn't necessarily linear. And it's not always going to be going up. It's going to be up and down in every which way. So just be mindful about that. Keep that in the back of your mind. Shit happens. But you can always bounce back. You know, you don't know success until you've experienced failure.
Dude, it's a good quote.
That's tough. Yo, Tanner just got it all up in there. Give you the information, just sling it on you.
That's this week's Instagram.
That's that needs to be on there. That's not what's posted on there, and I hear something else. If I hear my voice saying "Make life your bitch," besides that, I'm gonna be a little shocked. But to go off of what Tanner said, I mean, how else like to put it better than that? So, I mean, the only really thing like I can add much is like what Tanner said when he said like it's not linear. It's crazy because if everything was linear, then there wouldn't be bad. You literally would just get this consistency, and then people wouldn't say it's not hard because once you get consistent, obviously it's linear. That's not, because you said life is unpredictable. Life in itself is never linear. It doesn't matter what you think. It's when he said 3 days of progress. One day I wasn't able to get exactly what I wanted. That's still net 2 days progress. And that's something that I especially had to get used to, because in sports, because that's what I've done mostly within my life. I've done other things. That's not all of what I've done. So people don't get that little image that I'm just a sports person, nothing else. But like the easiest way for me to think about it was practices. Or if I just had something where I was sick, say I had like a cold where I literally was sick this past week. I wasn't able to do like any workouts. I literally was told by the doctor my girlfriend and parents, like, relax, lay down. Let me ask you guys this: when you're told, because it's something that goes on. Me personally, if I miss like a day or two, you know what? I go with Terrence thing, like net progress. Like, because a year ago, I promise you, I was not performing the way I was. I'm more, finely tuned. When you get really sick and you got to be out a week and lay down, people just say, relax, sit down, don't do anything. It's the best way to relax and recover. That shit drives me fucking nuts. But guess what? When I say make life your bitch, after that week, hit that motherfucker hard and go right back to it and don't let nothing stop you. So that's just me personally with anything. Doesn't matter if it's work or anything, or if you're a project that, say, someone wants to do. You can go right back to it. Guess what? The only way you can go back is if you completely destroy it. And that's only up to you.
What about you, Connor?
True. Yeah, no, true. I agree with all of what y'all have said, and I'm not going to reiterate too much on it because I think you guys covered that perspective really well. And, you guys kind of alluded to it, but there is a positive mentality and a positive self-image that you should try to have for yourself all the time, even when you're not consistent. And you guys alluded to it, of course, when you make progress and then you back off on it, at least you still made forward progress. And it's like it takes you developing like small internal positive thoughts to start being able to focus on the bigger things that you want to do. So, you mentioned you were sick, for example. Let's say working out. I like using working out. I think we can all relate to that. And a lot of people focus on their fitness in their 20s and their 30s when they start becoming more interested in it. So, yeah, you hit a PR the week before and then you get sick and you're out for a week. Well, you still hit the PR the week before. And even if you don't quite get up there, it's because your body, you literally can't control how your body recovers to it other than giving yourself rest. But you still have to tell yourself, I hit a PR. Like, I did that. I'm the one who did that. And it's like giving yourself small mental victories so that you can appreciate when you reach that big victory, and like always having as much of a positive mindset as you can. Obviously, you don't want to glorify yourself and be like, I do everything right. But if you're just focused on the negative, then you're going to look for things to go wrong when things keep going wrong, and then you keep blaming yourself. And when you have a bad self-view, then you're not going to make as much progress because you're not going to be able to see the heights that you can reach. You have to believe in yourself so that you can reach that point, so that when you have those positive thoughts, you'll see that the peak is higher and higher than you ever thought. So yeah, that's my perspective with it. It's GT, right?
Before GT goes, I just wanted to add to what the three of us just said. In order to kind of check your progress, for me personally, I'm starting to get towards the direction of actually journaling or like physical evidence of where you started in your progress, whether it's a journal or just photos, and not even with fitness, but just in life in general.
Whatever.
Because when you are having a bad day, it's good to flip back to what was I doing last week? Like, oh shit, that's where I was. And guess what? When I'm not sick in a few days, I'm gonna hop out of bed and I'm gonna fucking do better than I was that previous week. Because at least for me, if I don't have something from me to remind myself of where I was in terms of the net positive, that my judgment or my kind of mentality, if I'm really, really, really down on myself, I kind of like push all the good away.
Yep.
And I just hyper focus on the negative. So having that physical, journal or just something to remind yourself of where you are. Anyways, go ahead, GT. That's just what I wanted to add real quick.
No, dude, I was literally going to say about the same thing. I do the same thing because no matter what it is, why do you think people record stuff? To get better. History, we've gotten better in life and technology. We recorded everything. We have that in documents. And that's like people lose sight of it. And they go, like you said earlier, Connor, and Tanner, is everybody wants to get there immediately. But yet it's the little things. What I said in previous podcasts, when you can't appreciate the little things, you're never going to get to the big thing because you're going to be so focused on the one big thing that you can burn out. You could do something like so many things that can happen because life is so unpredictable. But literally what Tanner said, just have something like that you can look at. Get your mind, because if that's something, which I do the same thing, just look at something, get your mind back on it.
I'm telling y'all, I just got this is a to-do planner. This has been awesome because I get to like actually see what I'm doing. I'm sure that's yours. I'm sure Tanner's got one too. Anybody who's not watching the video, it feels so nice job. It feels so cool just like checking off stuff like when you do it.
Oh yeah.
And then also like there's so many apps that can help you document your progress on your phone with things that you're doing. If you're learning an instrument, if you're trying to work out, if you're trying to study for something, there's so many ways for you to log your progress. And you can literally like some of these apps, like this app that I'm using to show my progress with my weight gain. There's a little graph that it'll make for me to show my progress. And that's there's so many tools. Anyways.
Yeah. Go ahead, GT, with your, I want you to actually do 2 questions to hit us with a back-to-back.
Okay, let's do it. Okay. Oh, I like this. Oh, I like those 2 put together. Which ones do I want to throw at y'all? Oh, man. Let's say, what are some healthy habits that you partake in daily life? So that way some other people that are listening, watching might be able to maybe connect with. What's something you personally, what are like some like healthy habits and how, and maybe how did you get there and what helped you get there?
I mean, I'll start off with a few. I mean, we've already kind of talked about it, but I've started to some kind of working out or some kind of exercise, physical exercise is something that I've partaken in just because of how it helps my anxiety and how it helps me manage my anxiety, particularly. And I know a lot of people don't like this and think like, how could you do this? But morning exercise, it changes your trajectory. At least for me, I don't think it would for everybody because of their sleep and maybe their sleep habits. But for me, it changes my mood for the day. If I work out in the morning, I'm less stressed out because I'm burning calories and I have that high all day. And doing some kind of physical exercise, even if it's not excessive weightlifting, which is what I'm focused on right now, just going for a walk, that's been so nice because it's like I get to tangibly see like what I'm doing. Wait, pause real quick. Why is GT on here twice?
Dude, I don't know what happened. It said some internet issue. Oh, there we go.
That was really funny.
It was funny.
You were about to have twice of me. Good luck, people.
I was like, is it going to like echo over himself? Oh, God.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's right. Co-host. Ha.
But
Not.
Another thing, of course, is the to-do planner. At night, I will like document what I'm going to do for the next day so that when I wake up, it doesn't feel like, oh, what's the day going to be like? Because especially as an adult and having your schedule planned out when you've been in school for so long, just to relate it back to the 20s, your schedule and your life are planned out for you because of the classes that you take, especially when you go into college. And it's like you are used to that routine, whether you know it or not, because you did it since you were like 3 or 4 years old, whenever you started going to school. So when you stop doing that as an adult, it actually like maybe some people like it and they need more of the free form schedule thing. But I think because of how used to it we are, that like being able to know exactly what your schedule is going to be like in like certain sections and segments, I think is helpful, at least for me, just because it's like my brain just wanders too much if I just let like anything happen day after day after day. I want to know what I'm doing, at least with some things on a daily basis. So just a night before ritual and a morning ritual usually is what I've got.
For me personally, something I've kind of picked up within the last year is I realized that, and this is for anyone who maybe is living on their own or is in a city without, many friends or family or anything like that, to be able to have someone to talk to about your day, the good and bad, just kind of give them a summary of everything. And then to have that person listen and maybe whether it's advice or simply just listening to you and saying, oh, good job or whatever, to me is helping me kind of have an outside POV of kind of keeping me in check, but also talking about what's going on. And when I say it out loud and I'm hearing myself and think about, oh, how my day go, or what good habits did I do today? Was I consistent in saying what I wanted to do a few months ago? I'll tell my my dad that, oh, Dad, I'm going to be consistent in the gym just because that's the example we've been using. I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week and I'm going to lose 20 pounds in the next 6 months or something. That's my goal, Dad. And I'll be talking to him, and then maybe he remembers this is, hey, Tanner, did you go to the gym today? So to have people who are kind of keeping you in check in our support system is a healthy habit that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily think of, because, you know, when you think of your own personal habits and your own goal setting, you only really think about your own personal progress and doing everything by yourself. But part of it too can be the community or having people on your side helping you out, because that can go a lot further than you think. The other one I was going to mention is I fucking forgot it. So I guess that's the only one I'm going to provide. I forgot it. I'm sure it'll come. I'm sure it'll come back to me. But
somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Well, daily things that I partake in, like you said, Connor, is, and like you said as well, Tanner, is I work out every day, no matter what it is. I always find something to do and just keep that progress going and keep that net profit or net bonus, whatever, however you want to go about it. That net gain is always positive than the net loss. So that's something that, and I make time for it. For me, that planner helps out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of those people, I like to-do lists. I mean, that's, you know, if you give me a to-do list, because I'm a visual person, if you give me a to-do list, like if you tell me just blah, 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 this, that, bam, bam, bang, 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 and you just throw it in there, it's hard to keep all that in here, because then I'll be like, okay, so I'm trying to put everything together. And that's annoying, because I don't know how, but like sometimes maybe like your significant other throws so many things like, hey, can you do this, that, and that. I want to be able to do everything, but if you just say it out loud and you can't like repeat it, or you can't like text me or anything, like I'm gonna do my best. I'll just say that. So it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
So, but I'm gonna do the best I can. But to get back on it, that's something that I found out works really good for me, because then it's also like satisfying. You be like, yeah, I got that done. Yeah, boom, boom. Even progress, like time. Like if you want to get real fancy, you can do a to-do list, put time like when you did it. I don't do that. I'm just saying this for anybody, so don't think I'm that guy. But that's just something that I think is very like satisfying and keeps me like focused and on track. Like, okay, cool, I got that done, and then it motivates me, because I want to get that. I just want to get it done, and like not done and over with, but I want to get it done, but also do it to the best of my abilities, so that way I don't have to do that crap later.
Connor, I remember the second thing I was going to say, but if you want to go first, I'll keep track of it.
I have something, but I don't want you to forget, so you got it.
Yeah, no.
What I was
You know how your memory is.
Yeah, exactly. Right. His hair might.
I don't know what the fuck. What I was going to say is that something else that maybe a lot of people won't think of is it's great to have good habits and to be consistent, but what are you doing it for, right? Obviously, you're doing it for yourself or to reach these new goals, but if you're not rewarding yourself for being consistent, then your motivation to do these certain tasks or this long daily to-do list, it's going to deplete. So for me, a good habit I do is reward myself in some way weekly, accomplishing or trying to accomplish everything I did over the week, kind of give myself that encouragement. So whether it's, I mean, whatever gives you pleasure, video games, you know, milkshake, I mean, whatever, it really doesn't matter, but whatever that kind of stress relief is, or kind of a reward that you can give yourself on a weekly basis, a pat on the back for saying, hey, you know, you're being consistent and here's your motivation for being consistent. It's just like a mental game for me personally that helps me. It sounds stupid, but at least it helps me, you know, have a reason to be consistent besides obviously trying to accomplish my goals or do this, do that, and improve in various areas, but also have that like, oh, dude, I can't wait to look forward to that ice cream on Saturday, or I don't know, just fuck it.
No, I like that. I like that a lot.
That's funny, because it actually, that kind of ties into another thing that I wanted to bring up Yeah, like rewarding yourself. Absolutely. You should focus on that because you want to continue your positive mindset. And it kind of ties into, I think if you can at some point in your life add in a hobby that you enjoy that's just for you, that there's the only progress that you really need to make is your own progress, and you don't have to show anybody if you don't want to, or if you want to show anybody. Like having that is really good because one, not only do you have an outlet where you can, like for me, like, you know, my music, playing my bass guitar, like I just love to slap when I'm angry and just like play like rage songs because I'm like pissed off with the day or whatever. But I can do that for like half an hour and I feel so much better because I let loose with something, and I've been doing it for years and I just have fun with it. Like I'm now turning it into something, but that's because I've had so much fun with it and I didn't try to make it anything more than that for a long time. And so it's like having good habits that are consistent for your growth are good, but sometimes, like Tanner said, reward yourself with a daily thing or just a weekly thing if you can. You could learn a new skill, you could start collecting something. Video games are not as bad of a habit as some people think, as long as it's not in excess and you're not like prioritizing them. They're a good way to just relax. You can play a story game. There's so many different types of games. You can start reading, you can start writing stuff if you've always wanted to. Like anything creative is what I encourage people to do, especially because you can express yourself in that way. And maybe if you don't get to do that in your normal life, it's a way to relieve stress.
Yep.
That's a big one for me.
Yep.
I absolutely agree. Not gonna lie. Come end of the week, that drink, it gets better and better. I'm like, it's time.
Looking forward to that bourbon or whatever it is.
Oh yeah. Oh man, a good bourbon. Neat. Put that sucker on there. Ooh, baby.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, GT, moving on. What's your next question, buddy?
Just kidding.
What was the next question?
So it goes off. What habits would you change or make better as of right now to go right off of that? Bam. And so be honest.
Since we've been talking about good habits and saying consistency is key, you're going to have consistent, unhealthy, or bad habits as well. You know, we're not perfect by any means. My biggest one right now that I do on a day-to-day basis, I should just stop doing, is feeling the need to do more and never fully allowing myself to relax, because you know, whether I have 5 things on my list or 25 things to do on my list,
thank you,
I always feel like I need to do more. And you know, I'm never fully satisfied with what I did in a day's work. Like today was my only day off work for the next like 4 or 5 days, I believe. And I was playing video games for like 2 hours, just taking my mind off shit. And after like the hour and a half or something, I felt guilty. I was like, I need to do something. But I'm looking around like, what do I really need to do today? Okay, I could go to the gym. Sure, I could maybe clean my room up a little bit more, but like I don't need to do anything. I'm just stressing myself out. So I would say my bad habit is, you know, always feeling like I need to be doing something and never truly, once again, rewarding myself or allowing myself to say, hey, great job, relax, buddy. You don't need to think about anything else. So I could say several more, but that's probably my biggest one is you know, not giving myself enough credit and never fully relaxing.
It's like a mindset daily habit that you have. It's like a self-talk daily habit that you have. It's good to have those days where you do nothing. 3 weeks ago, I had a weekend where I played video games for 2 days straight and didn't leave my house, and it was fantastic. I mean, I worked out both of the days, but other than that, oh my gosh, it was so nice.
In heaven.
I haven't had that.
Good.
I don't remember the last time I had that, and it was crazy. But I felt guilty too. I get that, man. It's hard because you always feel like you got to accomplish something, and you feel like you're wasting your time if you don't. I mean, I can relate to that. If I had to pick something specific, it's I have a really strong desire to start reading again because I know it's good for me and my anxiety. And I used to love reading as a kid, just fantasy stuff. And I have a bunch of stuff that I want to read. I have a list I've started a list of things I want to read, but my habits when I go to bed after I do my to-do list are to scroll on my phone through all my social media apps and to like expose myself to the blue light. And then I stay up probably an hour later than I probably should. And reading always makes me sleepy. So I really should do that because it's better for my brain. I can go to sleep right after. So that's a habit that I have a strong desire to change, but I've been doing it for years and it's really hard to change. So that's probably my worst one.
God bless those two that you said. Absolutely, I agree 100%. First, going off what Tanner said, dude, just sometimes, for the most part, I would say I'm pretty good at like, giving myself recognition and like being good to myself.
Mm.
But dude, I feel that 100% because I think everybody has those times where like we want to be at Z, but boy, we're only at, let's say, L.
Yeah.
Like that's tough. Then it's tough. Everyone, because you want to get but that's something that I think, me personally, I still need. I've gotten way better at it, boy. I've gotten way better at it.
Good, man.
But dude, I still got a ways to go. So by no means, and I'm not even going to say like I'm better because I'm right there with Tanner when it comes to that. It's tough, and it's a mindset, it's a mentality thing, and as much as we would love to say like we're here, it's acknowledging where you truly are and being able to accept it and just become better.
Yeah.
From there, more consistent. So that one and what you said, Connor, dude, I felt both of those.
Awful,
dude.
man.
I'll be oh my God, I'll be in bed. I've brushed my teeth, mouthwash, floss, done everything. I'll be right in bed on my phone playing Madden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, dude, go to bed, GT.
Yeah.
Like, get some sleep, dude.
Yeah.
And so, but just wake up at like a better time. That way I can attack the day better.
Mm-hmm.
But no, my freaking big old self does all that, and I stay up. Why? Go to
for your sleep. Yep.
Yeah. I do the same thing, dude. TikTok right now, and I've literally deleted the app 2 different times, and I fucking re-downloaded it again.
I can't go on TikTok late at night. I can't.
Well,
It's a trap.
I do, and I'm on there for at least 30 minutes minimum every time I log in. It's terrible. But Connor, what is your second question for us?
Yep. Good questions, GT.
Yeah, great question.
My second question, we talked about it a little while ago, like things that you want to change and make better, and we've talked about it in our mentality and our mindset with approaching these things. What role do you guys think flexibility plays in creating good habits? Does it help when you try to make goals and try to make consistent things to be really stringent, or to have flexibility so you can find the best habit, the way that it works best for you, for example?
I want Tanner to go off this because I can see myself going different ways with this. So I want Tanner to go first.
It's an interesting thing because it's flexibility in terms of good habits. It's good and bad. I'm gonna go on the side of saying flexibility is actually a good thing because you have to, like you said, Connor, you have to find what the best habit. Who the fuck is doing something? That's gonna be so hard to edit. Okay, I'm gonna say whoever's doing that. It's gonna be I can't edit that over.
It's GT.
Bro, why are you trying to fucking eat during the podcast? Just wait 15 more minutes for me.
Dude, I've been sick. I'm trying to put in a freaking drop so I'm not out here coughing on the podcast.
God damn. At least I can edit a cough instead of fucking crackling for 3 minutes.
Don't edit it out.
I can do anything.
Please don't edit this part out.
So like I was saying, flexibility is a good thing because like Connor just said, you have to find the correct habit that's best for you, right? What you see he do in terms for, let's say, his mental health may not be the best fit for you, right? You're a different person. What works best for you might be different. So having that flexibility to not only figure out what's the best habit for you in order to stay consistent, but also learning how to overcome when that habit isn't being as beneficial as it could be. And maybe that will benefit your consistency overall with whatever you're trying to do. So I would say flexibility is more so of a good thing in terms of trying to be consistent.
So, because I didn't know which way you were going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of me personally and what I think with flexibility, I think, oh God, it's flexibility with it. You can make it flexible to a point, but then people start to kind of veer away from what they call flexible and procrastinating, and then letting something just not doing something because, oh, it's too late, I gotta do something else for tomorrow when you had all that time, because everyone has the same time in the day. It's just how you prioritize and how you go about it. So, and it's something that when you hear that, some people don't like to hear that. I know sometimes it's tough no matter what you do, because I know, Connor, you like to do guitar, and that's not something you're just like, oh, 5 minutes, oh, done. Because even though, yes, you did 5 minutes of it, it's tough to pick up a guitar, get everything all set on music, and then in 5 minutes, and then bam, done.
Right.
And the same thing with Tanner, like artists and songs, you literally have to do that for hours. You literally have to go into it, edit. Even this podcast, you got to edit. That takes time. Like, that's not something that we just record, bam, done. Oh, perfect. So it's something where it's editing, but being flexible can absolutely be a good thing. Like Tanner said, I think being flexible to a certain point and not interchanging like flexibility and procrastinating, making sure you don't let those two start to hover over each other and border, and to make sure to stay away from that. But so I think it's a dual bladed sword. It's however you use that sword, either for good or you mess up, you muck up.
I
So
agree. I,
I
I
just
I kind of agree with GT like a little bit. I'm probably like in between y'all. I just thought of it. It's like you can't be flexible to the point where you're taking advantage of your own insecurities because you're too afraid to make a change. That's a problem, because if you're insecure about the progress that you're going to make, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're flexible to the point where the progress that you make is insignificant, then you're not really doing anything other than just practicing a good habit, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you still have to have some kind of tangible goal, and you still need to be stringent enough with yourself to where you push past your insecurities and push yourself to a place that maybe you never thought you could go before. So it's really tricky, because I think I lean more towards having like malleable goals, to where like if something doesn't work out because of something that happens in life, you can still shift the goal maybe like a day back. Like it had to get done by this deadline, but maybe you gave yourself 2 days of leeway so that the final end date wasn't here, but you wanted to get it done early, right? So I lean more towards the flexibility, but if you take advantage of yourself to where you don't have to make a change, then you're going to be stagnant. You're going to just kind of sit there with your habits. And that's tricky, because sometimes people make habits and are consistent about working out, for example, or they're consistent about their eating habits, but they don't make any progress, and they feel like there's no point because they're being consistent, but there's no results happening. So if there's no results happening, that means you need to change your goals. That means you need to change what you're doing, because it's not working for you. Even if it worked for somebody else, you have to make it fit you and what your goals are. And it's going to be different for every person, like GT was saying earlier. So,
Right. That was my only counter argument against the side of being on the less flexible, because for me personally, and the reason why I say this, because I've been, I would almost say, plateaued in certain things I'm trying to accomplish, because I didn't change and wasn't flexible with what I thought the good habit was, like you said. So you brought it up right there at the end. I guess that's what I was trying to deliver, and I didn't say it correctly. It was that it needs to be a little more malleable, because it's very easy to, if you're in the mindset of, oh, I still want to accomplish this, it's going to happen or whatever. Sometimes, no matter how many days there's something that you need to change, or else you won't see progress, or your goal that you're trying to reach won't be accomplished. And that's the reality. Trial and error. That's how successful people got to where they are, because they tried, failed maybe once, two, three times, and then they found,
maybe even more
bam,
than that.
maybe even more than that. And then bam, next thing you know, they found they had the perfect formula, and then, their business or whatever was successful. So that's what I was trying to say in terms of the flexibility side. That was the only reason, because I know I experienced where I kind of plateaued. I didn't change
yeah.
anything. And then, like you said, well, fuck, I'm not seeing progress. Why am I even doing this? Next thing you know, I dropped it. Whereas I should have said, okay, why is this not working out? What can I do differently? Maybe try this for a few weeks. Maybe see if I have any more progress than previously.
True. I like
so
that.
Going off that, when you said that, it's when I was saying flexible to a point, I did mean what I said, but also like I don't want people to get the understanding. It's like you can absolutely be flexible. You can switch some things around because when Connor said like some people do it like it's like this by that, and you said trial and error. Well, maybe if you do it like this and you have things planned out a certain way, let's say like that just doesn't feel comfortable, or you're just too stressed, or you feel like that's just not how I'd like to go about it. Like you said, trial and error.
yes, 100%, 100%.
So,
Well, cool, fellas. I think we've asked a great bit of questions and kind of talked about a good bit about consistency and good habit training, how to maintain that, and kind of our personal ways of going about it. So, if you guys have any closing thoughts,
Be kind to yourself, love yourself, and appreciate all the progress that you make because you're always better than when you started.
reward yourself. Like Taryn said, don't think you have to suffer until you hit the ultimate thing. Find the little things where you can celebrate. And like you said, appreciate. Understand that word. Appreciate. Little things, because it's little things that create big things. Because any big thing in this world, what is it made up of? A whole lot of little things built up. So don't beat yourself up over one day. And don't let one day or one thing ruin your whole habit. You can still be consistent with one little off day, one little thing, maybe one mistake. Don't beat yourself up over it.
yeah, I
Tanner?
would say that at the end of the day, you got to be your best friend. And if you're in your own corner and you're beating yourself up, it's going to be very hard for you to be successful in your own peace of mind, but then also outwardly to others. So, like we said, love yourself and realize that if there wasn't failure, you wouldn't appreciate success. And that consistency is key, like we said in this episode, whether, you're trying a new habit or you're halfway through this goal that you're trying to get, keep fighting because you're going to get to that finish line sooner or later. So with that being said, gentlemen, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys for listening or watching, I guess I should say, watching another episode of Let's Talk 20s. Signing off. See you guys next week. Bye.